Good evening, brothers and sisters, and welcome to Advent 2020. Advent is about waiting. The word Advent simply means to wait. It is to wait for something that is significant, something that's important, something that is life-changing. So here we are in the season of Advent in 2020. No year has been more conducive to Advent than the year 2020 because of the challenges that 2020 has brought to us. The unsettledness that we experience in 2020 makes this Advent season one that is unique and packed with opportunity. So what does it mean to wait? How do you wait for something, and what does waiting for something do to you? There are two things that can happen to you while you're waiting, and what you're waiting for actually determines which one of the two things you experience. For example, when you're waiting for the birth of a child, you're filled with that positive anxiety, that excitement. Your life is about to change. Where there was just you and your wife, there's now going to be you, your wife, and another human being. I remember when we were waiting for our firstborn son, I had always wanted to have a child. And so for me, the advent of our son was something very exciting. It ignited a lot of excitement in me. But there are also times when waiting can be challenging. You've been to the doctor's office. There's a reason why they put those magazines on the coffee table. It's because there are times when you're at the doctor's office to wait and to receive the results of a test. Now, that can be nerve-wracking. I've been to the doctor's office, and you look at a person and you can tell that they're anxious. And so waiting sometimes can induce anxiety. So what you're waiting for determines which one of the two experiences you have in that particular Advent. And so as we go through this period of Advent, I want us to identify with the Jews. They were in captivity in Babylon. And as part of preparing for their release, for the coming of freedom, for the coming of salvation, Isaiah speaks to them. And I'd like to reflect on what Isaiah says so that we can claim some of what Isaiah offers to his people for ourselves in this 2020 Advent season. In Isaiah chapter 40, verses 28 through 31, and by the way, every time I've been asked what is my favorite passage, there are two. There is Isaiah 26:3 and Isaiah 40, 28 through 31. Isaiah 40, 28 through 31 says, "Have you not known? Have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God. He's the creator of the ends of the earth. He does not faint or grow weary. His understanding is unsearchable. He gives power to the faint, and to him who has no might, he increases strength. Even youth shall faint and be weary sometimes, and young men shall fall exhausted. But those who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not grow weary. They shall walk and not faint." Isaiah 40, 28 through 31. And so here are God's people in waiting. What does this kind of waiting yields for them? Like I said, what you're waiting for determines whether your waiting yields something positive or negative. So here is what God's people are waiting for, which is what we ourselves are waiting for in this Advent. Listen, those who wait for the Lord. What does waiting for the Lord yield? Not anxiety. It does not yield restlessness, pacing, and anger. You know, the kind that you experience when you're waiting for the light to turn green and it's just not happening, and you have car after car after car in front of you, and sometimes it may turn green, and before you have your chance to get through the light, it turns yellow and red again before you've crossed, and that can ignite a lot of anger. That's not what Isaiah yields for God's people. In this case, they're waiting for the Lord, And automatically, what that is going to produce for them is a sense of renewed strength. They've been through a lot. Being taken into captivity can really zap you of your strength. But then they remember that there is God. And as they think about that God who promised that he would bring them back after 70 years, their strength is renewed one more time. And listen to the way that Isaiah puts together this litany. They shall have their strength renewed, which means they will be back to capacity. It's like an empty tank of gas that is refilled to the brim. It is like a dead battery that is fully charged back to 100%. This is what will happen to those who wait upon the Lord. And consequently, they begin to do things. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. Nothing flies higher than the eagle. And it says, spiritually speaking, that is God's people as they wait upon the Lord. They shall run and not be weary. Try to look at a person that's running and see what happens to them. I am a fan of the Olympics, and the thing that I find to be most fascinating is to watch people running. When they begin, they look very fresh, they look very strengthened, but as they're coming to that final bend, watch the expression on their face, and you will see that they are truly spent. They're almost disfigured. Isaiah says, when you wait upon the Lord, that doesn't happen. You will run and your face will be fresh, as if you're just at the beginning lap. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk a long distance and not faint. So here we are, Advent 2020. What we are waiting for will determine whether our experience is negative or positive. We are waiting during the pandemic, locked down in our home, unable to meet in worship in person. Now, if we are waiting for the Lord, that experience can be a positive experience. It can bring about spiritual vitality. It can bring about renewal. But if all we're doing is waiting for the cure to be found for the coronavirus, then there's going to be a lot of anxiety because the news that comes may say different things. But waiting upon the Lord means whatever God has in store is what we'll experience. Consequently, we shall mount up with wings like eagles. We shall run and not be weary. We shall walk and not faint. Amen.